Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to a Fresh Stories book chat where we talk to authors of all different types of books and genres. And today we're talking to Heather, who we actually know from the divorce world. And then her team let us know that she is launching a very exciting new book, which I am thrilled about. Heather, can you introduce yourself and then let's jump into it?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Heather Quick, and I'm an attorney in Florida, and I've been practicing 26 years now. And my firm is exclusively for women, and we represent women only going through divorce and family law issues.
And I think we connected because one of the reasons that I love what you do so much, and you're so passionate about empowering women through divorce. So take us through this book. What have you written?
So within this book, it is really the full more than just a guide, but, one of the things that I am really passionate about is educating women going through this process because that is my belief, knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better you can prepare yourself, really even just emotionally, I think, right? Like, I don't expect you this isn't gonna teach you how to do the divorce yourself. I don't advise that at all, but just understanding what's coming in a way, I'm hopeful that isn't so overwhelming. The process is that. And I recognize that not everyone is in the space to receive it at the same time. But for those women who want to understand more, who really want to, I would say, have an advantage in their divorce, that is who this is for, or you're going through it. And you really, oftentimes you're in the office with your attorney and you are having a meeting, and there is a lot of information coming at you
Yeah.
and a lot of words and all the legalese. And even when we do our best to speak English, right, rather than all of these legal terms, it can be a lot to take in. And so for that woman leaves the office and then sometimes like, what just happened? Like, what's next? What did she say about mediation? What did she say about trial? And you might not remember. And some individuals going through this, their attorneys just might not be very good at
Mhm.
explaining things, frankly.
Yeah.
We take that very seriously at our firm, and I think it's so important to answer your clients' questions and try to communicate in a way that they can understand, follow up with, in writing and everything. But then this book, it talks about all the different steps and really how to position yourself. So
Mm.
that's where it can really help you. And when I first started, I thought, "Oh, this is just for Florida," but it's not, 'cause all the concepts are anywhere.
Mm.
Anything if you're going through it, I don't care what state, New York, California, Texas, right? This isn't legal advice. This
Right.
is strategy and
Mhm.
understanding, hey, what happens in these processes? And those are pretty much universal.
Yeah, because it's so overwhelming, like you said, right? You're
Yeah.
not only going through the divorce, you're working, you're raising kids, and you're like, I can't learn a effing strategy for all this stuff, right? It's too much.
Yeah.
So, what is the book called? And then, can you take us through kind of the framework of this book?
Yes. So it's called Unbreakable Divorce. And for people
Beautiful.
who are watching, there it is. And it does say a winning guide every woman needs to reclaim her life. And it's really, I mean, it's the longest book I've ever written, but under 200 pages. So it's digestible and not that super tiny print, right? Because I'm getting too old for that. So it's like normal font.
We
um,
appreciate that.
and I think so. First we talk about what it is. Like, what is family law even, right? And trying to understand the different things that'll happen, and then when there are abusive relationships and how it relates to the money and your children, and just kind of get an overview,
Yep.
basically, of what
Yep.
that is. And then it kind of really talks about how to prepare, right? What are some things you can do? What's the timing? What's that last thing? What kind of documents? How can you win? Because I'm a big believer that you can win in your divorce. And I always say it's not about making someone else lose.
Right.
It is if you achieve what you want and maybe you just want out and you want peace, you've won. And so I really take issue with everybody. Nobody wins. Okay, well, no, that's just not true.
Right.
If you and that's just because I'm ridiculously competitive, right? So I like that kind of language, and but I hope for women to have a positive look on it, right? Like, you may be really struggling afterwards. There may be a lot of challenges, and
Yeah.
it may be difficult for the whole family dynamic to change. However, if you get that peace,
Yep.
if you get that freedom, you have won. And
Right.
so it talks about that, like how to do that. Talks about hiring a divorce attorney, right?
Mhm.
How you should go in there and the questions you should ask and what I think your expectations should be.
Yep.
I think that we as consumers, um, I see it because hey, we're in an Amazon world now, and everybody wants everything like yesterday,
Mhm.
and no, don't pay for shipping and all that. Which I know that doesn't apply to legal services, but there are some certain things you should really understand
Yep.
because your needs are gonna be met differently by different attorneys, and the more you can understand that, I think the better, right? Because then you make the best choice you can, right? You never hired a divorce attorney? Okay, you never have. So, but the more educated we are as consumers and as women, we deserve to find the right fit and don't just settle for the cheapest option because you deserve better. You deserve a really good attorney.
Right.
And I think oftentimes there's a misconception. Well, I thought you're helping women. Well, we are, but we're women. And don't you think we should get premium
Mhm.
pay for what we do? That's excellent.
Right.
It's a weird dynamic about that. I gotta say that could be a whole
It
show.
is.
I don't
No, I
understand it.
mean, I think that the whole divorce industry is an odd dynamic sometimes, so I very much understand that. Um, so who would you say this book is ideal for? Is this for women who are considering divorce, women in the divorce process?
Definitely both. I think if you're considering it, it depends how much, right? If you just had a really bad fight, you're not gonna really read it and get a whole lot out of it.
Yep.
And I also do think, right, who is gonna even be aware of it, right? So probably most women embarking on a divorce. And I don't care if you are in the middle of it. I think it can help you because there are parts it's broken up like alimony and the
Mm,
parenting plans and how to behave in a trial, like
wow.
the real um, the reality of you're in front of another human being, right? We don't have an AI judge yet, and they're normal, and they're going to have their own preconceptions, and they're going to pick up
Mhm.
on things, and that's important. And we certainly hope. I mean, I do as an attorney that if it's possible, we can settle your case because trials are very expensive. They're time consuming and emotionally draining.
Yeah.
But and it talks about that, like so. Be prepared, and maybe understanding that makes you more prone to wanna try to settle and wanna
Yeah.
mediate the case, and, that the interesting or not interesting, but the dynamic in divorce is, unfortunately, you're not in control of the whole process,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
neither are we as the attorneys, which, of course, is frustrating to us, but all we can do and all you can do is control how you show up
Yeah.
and how you are gonna be in it. We cannot control your husband and how they're gonna behave or their attorney or the judge. Some judges are
Yep.
just, like, off the rails. They're slow as Christmas, and, but that's kinda where understanding what you do have control over and educating yourself really on the process because every state has different laws and everything are going to have nuances that obviously aren't covered in the book. It does identify like, hey, in Florida, this
Right.
is the
Right.
law. But, just I feel like it's going to be a major ordeal. And even if you feel like it's really amicable and you guys are gonna settle, which, hey, that is great, and I
Mhm.
will say, not all the ones that start out that way end
Yeah.
up that way,
Yeah.
but this would still help you because now you kinda see how the process is going
Right.
or so I really think if you're like, "I am headed for divorce." Now you might be like, "I don't know if it's tomorrow I'm gonna call an attorney or maybe I'm gonna wait a year," because there's that there's a lot of
Mhm.
time for
Mhm.
women sometimes to make that decision. or your husband springs it on you and you didn't really even see it coming,
Yep.
this will help you and take it in small bites.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that the readers, I'll look forward to the feedback that it makes sense. It's not
Right.
complicated. Like, I'm not writing this for lawyers
Right.
at
Right.
all. I'm not writing it for anybody but just a woman who is looking to be better prepared.
I love that. I love that. It's so important and so essential, Heather. Where can people buy this book?
So the official launch is February 17th, and it will be on Amazon. And we do have a website, Unbreakable Divorce, where you
Okay.
can buy it there. And then, of course, it'll be on our website, FloridaWomen'sLawGroup.com.
Yes. And we'll put the links in the show notes, of course, and share it when we share the episode. And you also have a beautiful podcast. Can you mention that for a second?
Well, back on the competitive thing, it's called Women Winning Divorce. And again, when I started that is the main intent is for clients, for women going through that. It's full of information. We're now, gosh, we might be in our third year. It could be a little longer, but even from the beginning, the first year was really just me being interviewed, and it's a lot of substantive stuff about
Mm-hmm.
the law, but an easy way to understand. We have some amazing guests. You and your
Mm-hmm.
sister were
Yep.
on
Yep.
talking about your registry, which was so cool, and we have been fortunate to have an amazing array of guests that I feel really offer something and
Yeah.
offer information and things that will help women even
Yeah.
if they're not getting divorced or they were divorced 20 years ago. There's just a lot of great stuff, and so that's Women Winning Divorce, on, Apple and Spotify and all the places you get your
Yeah,
podcast.
I love your podcast because it's like listening to girlfriends chat, or friends chat, and it's low key, it's fun, but it's super educational and very inspirational. So we enjoy that, of course. You and I know
Thank
you have
you.
fantastic guests. Before we let you go, Heather, if somebody's listening to this podcast episode and they're maybe considering divorce or they're in the early stages, what would be some words of encouragement that you could leave them with today?
Well, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and you don't have to have run a marathon to understand that it's long, and people who do run marathons, they train for months. So now you're in it. There was nobody to prepare you to train. And not everything that happens is gonna be like the end all be all, and now you're gonna end up on the street destitute, which is what almost everybody thinks. It's that fear that steps in. And sometimes there are things that happen that don't go your way or don't feel great. But live to fight another day, even though we shouldn't say fight, but, like, come on, like, within
Mm-hmm.
your inner spirit, your spunk, it's not over till it's over, and not everything is always gonna end up the way that you want it. I mean, I'm not that, much of a Pollyanna, but I do know that it understanding it's a long haul, and because it's your life, somebody might be like, "Oh, a year?" I mean, but most people are like, "Ah, a year," and then that could be short for some
Yeah.
states, right?
Yeah.
And it's understanding, like, what is your end goal? You can do it. Women are so strong and resilient and just so much more amazing than men. I mean, they can really pivot and get through it because just keep your eye on what's on the other side. How much better your life, your children's lives are gonna be, and hopefully your spouses, and, like, all those kind of things. It's a process, a long, painful, expensive sometimes process. But you can do it. You can do it. Just understand it takes time.
It does. It really does take time. That was the hardest part for me. The impatience was like,
Oh,
ah.
it's so hard.
Well, I appreciate you so much, Heather, and the work that you do for women. And we are so excited about this book and to share it with our community. So thank you for being here. For everybody listening, please check the show notes for the links to the book and for Heather and all the good stuff. Heather, please come back anytime. We appreciate you
Oh,
so
thank
much.
you. Well, I appreciate you and your sister and everything you guys are doing, and it is just a pleasure to be your guest. Thank you so much for helping me get the word out about the book.